To another gold update. Okay, so I went back to the drawing board on gold because after the last couple of wave revisions, I had questions and those questions kept mounting. And eventually I made a list of those concerns that I had on the wave revisions. And for some reason, something clicked. Something completely clicked and it totally just made me think, holy moly, what are they doing to the US dollar? And to me, this is like this is I could say this is insanity, but it's been happening for so long now that it's basically the norm. So although we could call it insanity, it's it's amazing, right? So what am I getting at here? So if you look at my new count, what is this count, right? Now, I'm not going to go too far into what exactly all this means, but all I can say is that before I thought this whole thing was a B wave. Well, it turns out the B wave ended here in 2008. And the C wave was actually that. That was a C wave, the GFC. It was a weak wave C. So you can see something very clear going on here. Gold has a hard time going down. It has a hard time because of probably what would be the most logical thing, money printing, right? So if this is meant to be a zigzag, a long-term zigzag at that, right? Started this particular zigzag, let's talk about just this particular zigzag, right? Started in the 70s. Okay, so they left a gold standard. Fair enough. So that's obviously the reason, right? But this is a zigzag, right? And I know the long-term pattern, I'm not going to get into that. But this is expanding so much that it's actually pretty crazy, right? So I had to go back and look at this because something was not right. And you know what? It's going to help us moving forward because we're going to see exactly what's going on. Now, I am expecting a downturn in global markets to start, basically has already started. So according to this what we're seeing now, this is gold is not really going to go that low. I mean, it might grind down for a period of time, right? But it's all about the pattern, right? Because gold can go up and down with the market, but then there comes a point where perhaps it doesn't go up with the market, or it doesn't go down with the market, right? Now, just think of it this way, right? Look at 2000. 2000 was the top of the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq, etc. Right? So did gold go down? No, gold went up. Right? In the GFC, did gold go down? Yes, it did. So therefore, you can't really say that gold trends with the market. It's wrong, right? It's actually wrong. So what you really can do is just use the patterns. The patterns will give you the clue as to what's happening all the time. Now, the interesting thing about where we are now, so we've already established that the C wave was weak because, this market doesn't want to go down. It's in an uptrend, right? Um, in the medium to long term, it's in an uptrend. In terms of the bigger picture, well, that's a different story, right? But that's such a big time frame that we're not going to worry about that. But for the purpose of this medium to long term pattern, well, it's pretty clear that this thing's got some pretty strong upward momentum, right? Now, if we just go to the weekly chart, right? Let's go to the weekly chart for a moment. So if we're dealing with fractal patterns here, and this is an A, we're waiting for B. So what's this pattern here? Well, that's changed too. My revision has changed to this count. Now you'll notice that within this unfolding D wave, no, this is not the D wave here. There's this is part of a bigger D wave, right? And that bigger D wave will eventually go up here. Okay. Let's just do this properly, right? We'll put on the colors that I use, right? Right, so that's got to be blue as well. So D waves are blue, but according to RS wave, right? So within this fractal pattern, you had a C wave as well. So you could see that was even small, right? Even that C wave was tiny. So mind you, this is an expanded type 2 zigzag, as I worked out. I was wrong on my previous count, right? Now this is just a zigzag B, right? Nothing else. And then you had your C. So you could see quite clearly when you get your C's, right? The movement's down a week. Okay, so this one was strong, but that's the first part of the correction, right? But as it progresses, you can see that they just keep getting weaker, right? Now, mind you, that move we saw recently was a D wave, which is part of a bigger D wave. So that's a D wave within a D wave, right? So now what we're seeing is the E wave. So this is going to create that cup and handle pattern, right? Now we know that these markets don't want to go down. Sorry, the gold market does not want to go down. It's got a lot of strength behind it, right? Obvious reasons, right? So that way we got to figure out what is this pattern. Now it's an E wave, right? We get that. And we do realize that it's probably going to grind away, even though the markets are going to go lower. Obviously, that's happened before. As you know, the GFC was pretty big, but look, this is what happened, right? The market just created this 5-wave move, and it was choppy, but it was like a what I call a type 2 weak wave C, right? Now, it's the same kind of move that the Dow Jones created after the 2000, right? Now, so in that case, we need to check out closer to see what is up with this move that we're seeing, right? Now, the one thing that you always have to understand with the waves is you have to go back in order to figure out what's coming. You can't just look at this chart and Bob's your uncle, right? It just doesn't work that way. So now what I'm thinking this is going to grind out into what probably will be, simply put, the same kind of wave that we saw in the GFC, right? So if we've seen one, perhaps we've seen wave 2, then what we're going to see now, probably most likely, is just going to be wave 4 grinding away during this time, right? That's probably all it's going to be, right? Even though the markets may go low or whatever, that doesn't have anything to do with gold. It's incidental, right? We've established already that gold can go up when the market goes down, and gold can go down when the market goes down, or it can go up. There's no rule, right? It's all about the pattern. So in this case, if we mark this as its intended, what its intended colors are, right? You've got 1, 2, and now you've basically you got 3, right? And now we're going to grind in 4. Now, is this unusual? Is it something that is breaking any rules anywhere? No, it's not breaking any rules, right? However, wave 4 will likely grind away. And the only trades that you'll be able to pull out of it are the corrective trades. So what I'm thinking is this be A. So as I was thinking before, that was an A. Fair enough, So trying to figure out what the biggest structure is probably pretty critical to knowing what's going to happen, right? So what are we expecting here? Probably a B, right? And then probably a C. You get me? So on and so forth, right? So the main takeaway here is that we're probably not going to see a gold collapse. I just don't think it's going to happen. I do think we're going to grind away here, right? We're just going to grind and grind and grind and grind because, um, of, well, the whole pattern really. I don't want to say markets. I mean, markets might have like a tiny piece of influence at this point in time, but it's the forces of up and down, positive and negative. So as you know, we're in a wave D according to this count, right? So the cup and handle pattern, right? That's a bullish pattern, but you need the handle to form, yeah? Otherwise it's not a cup, it's just a bowl or something, right? So in that case, all I can see is this thing just grinding, 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 making that you know what I'm saying, the handle part of the cup, right? These are very common patterns in the market, and then we'll get that move up that we've been waiting for, right? And okay, so maybe that does kind of follow the market somewhat, but we can't use that as a complete guide. That's just not, it's not wise to do that. That's why learning the waves is critical. It's always going to give you that perspective as long as you practice, like I practice full on, like I told you many times before. The framework is right. It's about me. If I get it wrong, it's on me, right? It's on me. And it's not easy, but once you sort of things start to click, okay, great. It's like Lego. You put it together and you know what the structure is that you've built, right, in your mind. And then you sort of apply it. Sometimes you need to go away for a little while and you come back and it's clearer. Other times, you just keep getting it wrong. But wave revisions are basically planning for the future. At small degrees, you can trade fractal patterns. They're just fractal patterns, right? There's a zigzag. That's the most common pattern in the market, is a zigzag. The market is made out of zigzags and five-way moves, right? And you just got to know how to join them together to make the patterns that you're seeing on a long-term basis, right? There's way more to it, obviously, but these are just, some minor points here that I just want to point out, because a lot of the times you may wonder why there's so many wave revisions. But for you to have that proper understanding of what is a wave revision, basically we're just planning for the future, right? We're trying to understand what's driving the market and how it's going to react. Different markets react differently, right? In the case of gold, we know that it's a hedge against money printing. And this thing is on a tear, and it's basically buy the dip with gold. Just buy the dip, right? Buy it at the right time, sell it at the right time, right? So if you follow what I do, you'll understand by now that this is going to go higher after a period of time. Will that period of time align with a bottom in the Dow once this move completes that's coming? Wouldn't be surprised, right? Wouldn't be surprised. So how fast will it happen? That's an interesting question, right? That's a very interesting question, because even though this move started in, August, this sort of downward, grinding started in August, right? It's already been ongoing for a while. Okay. Now, typically, if wave two's drawn out sideways, um, wave four should be maybe not as long. Maybe this will sort of create the B wave and then a sharp C and then a D and then an E or whatever, or something like that, right? And then final move down, done. That might coincide with a bottom in the Dow, right? Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me one bit, right? So basically, we just need to pay attention to what's happening in the other markets because it'll give us some kind of sign. But the waves themselves will always give you the best sign. So at a smaller degree, right? Let's go to a smaller degree on this market. Now, it's a bit of a pain. So I think I'm going to stay away from this because it's not producing the kind of pattern that I can work with. Therefore, like I said to you, it's grinding away. It is literally grinding away. Okay. So let's not make too many assumptions. Let's just sort of, brainstorm ideas as to what could happen, right? In the long term, in the medium term, and in the short term. So in the very short term right now, I would say this thing's probably just still going to continue grinding away. Okay. Don't know why. Just seems that way. Okay. Now, very interesting moves indeed here going on. Just, I mean, to be honest with you, this almost looks like it's A, B, weak wave C. So really, this has still got a little bit to go before another move down, unless what we're seeing now is a zigzag. If that's true, let's have a quick look. I know this video is going on a bit. Well, you know what? We could be seeing that. So for now, I would definitely just stay clear of this market just for now. But I do think perhaps what we're going to see here is a little bit like this and a little bit like that. Okay. And then maybe you could short it then. Okay. So if you've been watching my trades, you just have to understand my ideas that if we break the stop level or the high of the idea, then the idea is invalidated, right? So you don't trade, right? You only trade when the ideas are confirmed. The entry point is hit, okay? So far, there's been none of that, which is good because it gives us clues and we don't have to lose money, right? This is critical, especially if you want to stay alive in this game, right? It's crazy. So this is actually pretty cool. This is actually giving us a fairly decent uh, amount of evidence here, and I don't want to tell you why. I'm not going to tell you everything. I am just going to say that we are going to go short soon. Okay, we are. But like I said, this thing's going to grind away most likely. So our moves will be measured. We'll take profit, and then we'll look for the next move. Okay, and that's about it. So we'll talk about targets a little bit more later, but for now, keep a lookout for my short trade idea once we get there. Hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.